Wow, we're here.
We're here.
How did we even get here?
I don't really know.
I don't either. Wow. Well, welcome to God's Got It.
Guys, this creation has been like so wild, such a whirlwind. It's only been weeks, I think, since we started talking about the evolution into this.
Yeah. I mean, yes, and I feel like we've kind of been on this journey together for a couple years now.
Yeah.
That's led us exactly here to this moment.
Yep. And that's how you know that God's hand is literally in everything.
Everything.
So tell me about it. What is God's Got It?
Oh man, I think that God's Got It is just this space that I wish was here when I was kind of like navigating my own walk with God, honestly. My vision, my hope is that this is gonna be just a space where we can get real, we can get raw, we can get honest about what it's like following God.
Yeah, and being a human and like living in the messy middle of that. I feel like inside of spiritual spaces and religion, right? And we will discuss the full spectrum of all of it. There is so much judgment and perfectionism and projection and what you should be doing and what it has to look like. And I really want this to be a space that peels back those layers to remind people that the most important aspect of being with God and leaning into that faith that God's got it, no matter what, is like an embodied relationship with that experience, right? Beyond dogma, beyond what anybody else has to say about it. And I want this to be a space for that for people.
Yes.
While honoring Jesus.
Heck yeah. Yeah, absolutely. and like just naming, right? Like this is gonna be messy. Like we're doing this out of a labor of love.
Guys, okay, a little bit of background. For anybody who doesn't already know this, I had a podcast called It's All Happening for the past two years. And Jenn and I joined together in partnership last year. We'll get into how all of that happened. And literally, I want to say today, right now, it is early December. And late September, early October, I started to feel this like, oh, there's something happening inside of the podcast. Like there's going to be a rebrand or an evolution. And literally the next phone call we had about the retreat business, you were like, I'm really feeling like it's time for me to start my podcast. And I was like, that's what it is. Like we are joining forces in literally everything else that we are doing inside of business with Living Liberated and the retreats and the online ministry, that it just made so much sense for this to be a place also to house these conversations for the community that we want to build. So that's how God's Got It was birthed. It was like so rapid, so fast. And it's been a little over a month at this point, and we're sitting here and we're doing this, and we rented out a space and we got all this equipment and we have our OBM here like supporting us in the background, and it just feels like I have chills even saying this out loud. It's like that's God's got it. Like we are just answering the call and moving in faith, and things are evolving so quickly.
Yes. I mean, and I know we've had these conversations like so many times about, because you and I both have been trying to navigate entrepreneurship and doing our own thing I know I've been in the space at least 5 years, you also.
Yeah.
And I never really understood when people would talk about things feeling aligned and this and that. And then as this relationship has evolved, and we can talk a little bit about how that evolution has unfolded, but every step we've taken, it just makes sense. And you're like, how? Like, it feels so easy. And now I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. When you are in alignment with what God's purpose is for you, it just all works out.
And I think that's an important thing we're going to talk about this probably at length throughout very many episodes, but something that Jenn and I immediately connected over was the frustration we originally felt inside of entrepreneurial spaces where everybody was like, just take aligned action, and it'll all flow and it'll all just be so easy and it'll all just happen for you. And here we are for 5 years being like, I have taken so much fucking action.
So much. Why
isn't it working?
Why isn't it working? Yeah.
And it's because it wasn't God-centered. It was us-centered. Like we've been on this journey, right, of healing and evolving and coming to exactly where we are right now with our relationship with God. And we've both been walking with God in our own ways for a while now, but it's only been really recently that we've like locked into like, oh, it's not just about like believing in and walking with and trusting in, but moving for God.
Yeah.
Like making that the literal center of everything that we are doing.
Yes. And that's been such a magical and scary shift.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't ever think that we've done this intentionally, but yeah, you go into it with this heart-centered posture. But as I'm reflecting back and I look at some of my old content and how I was showing up, it was still me trying to do it on my own. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until, and don't get me wrong, I am still a work in progress, and I will always say that. But like that active daily surrendering mm-hmm. and like having to let those old identities die and work through that. And through that, we've just landed in such a cool spot. And I would have never guessed, like, guys, I proposed to Molly. Let's say I proposed to Molly. Was it like 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago, like actually right around
this time. Hi, thanks God. That's so crazy. Yeah, so literally like 2 years ago, I was binge watching your content and just like feeling this deep drive. I was kind of in a space of navigating my healing, and everything you were, speaking on just felt like very resonant for me. And I just remember like sending you a Voxer like, Molly, will you be my mentor?
Yep. And you were I think you were the second person who signed on for like that big mentorship that I had created at that time. And that was the first time inside of business. So that was 3 years into my entrepreneurial journey that I really started to kind of like feel a bit of momentum. And it's so interesting because that was 6 months after I started claiming God. Like I had a big God awakening, and it wasn't as clear and direct and personal as it is now in coming home to Christ, which again, we're going to get into so much of this as the season goes on. But it was after like finding God that my business kind of did start to like pop a little bit, and you were one of the first people to enter into that mentorship.
Yeah. And it's been, just as an outsider, it's been so beautiful to witness, because during that time, I think, always had a faith about me, but I remember bringing it to some of our conversations and the dialogue we would have about it. And I've just noticed such a transition mm-hmm. as you have really stepped into more of that embodied experience.
Oh, I had such resistance.
I know. And I just I can reflect back now of some conversations and when I would bring things to you. And it was, and it was always a beautiful dance. Like you were always very respectful of it, but just noticing, now when we have conversations, how different that is. But yeah, literally starting from being in mentorship with you, and I was having this like God-sized dream of wanting to do retreat work mm-hmm. and just knowing deeply and feeling deeply that it wasn't something I wanted to do anymore alone. I didn't want to do it alone. And bringing that to you and just, hey, what do you think about this?
I even remember you being like, mentorship had ended maybe like a month after. And guys, maybe this is just the type of mentor that I am, but it's like when somebody steps into my world in that way, it's like you are not just a client to me.
No, you're here forever now.
Yeah, I'm like, you're a client, and I'm gonna keep a level of like professionalism. I don't even know if I can claim that, right? But it's like you are becoming one of my nearest and dearest friends. Like I care about you so much. And in that, I remember you coming to me like a month after, and you were like, I don't know if this is like appropriate or if like I'm overstepping in any way or how this could even work. But I'm so curious if you'd be interested in doing a retreat with me. And then on my end of that, I had also been naming for so long, I don't want to do this alone anymore. I don't want to do this alone anymore. I don't want to be the face of my business. I don't want to be the only thing that I'm riding on. And having that same God-sized dream about really wanting to step into retreat work and knowing like how much power and potential was in that space because of how much healing I had received from those spaces. And then, we're in December. This was last January.
Yeah.
And we immediately, within like 3 weeks, put out the Art of Liberation retreat in Tuscany. And the process of filling that retreat was an act of God. Like absolutely miraculous. We came up against so much fear and uncertainty and how are we going to fill this and who are we and what do we think we're doing? Like we're throwing our first retreat and we're bringing people, like not doing it stateside, bringing people internationally to a place where we don't know the freaking language. Like we don't know what we're doing, but God's got it.
God's got it.
And we prayed over it so much and so often and held that vision so deeply and knew like that entire process was the first time ever, I think for both of us, that it clicked of like, oh my God, I get what aligned action feels like now. Yes. Because we're walking in faith. We have no idea what's going to happen, but we just have this like super grounded trust of like, it is happening. And months went, we had one person sign up and I think it was like a month later, one more. Mm-hmm. And then we had set a date for, we had to have at least 4 people in by June 30th, right? And by June 30th, on the very last day, we had 6 women. There were 3 people who signed up.
All on the same day,
all in
you
the
guys?
Same day.
Like,
all in the same
what?
day.
Tell me that's not God orchestrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's when it all began. That's when we started really navigating. We have something really big here, and God is working so fast.
Yeah.
And so we're diving headfirst into this retreat business, and then, you know, post-retreat decide that we want to establish and create a space for those women to land after, just so they're feeling, you know, continued supporting after that experience. And now we have a whole devotional community, ministry, like...
And then God was like, podcast.
Right.
And we were like, okay, we're doing so much. We're holding so much. We're in the process right now of, we are mid-launch for our next retreat that's already happening. And like, guys, this podcast would be 2 hours long if we talked about all of the ways that it's like, we take a step, God shows up. We take a step, God shows up. We take a step in everything that we are doing that's happening right now.
And that gets to happen when you take a step back, right? When you sit down, all of those stories that you're telling yourself constantly, and choose in that moment not to do it alone. Yeah. And that feels like the overall arch of what we're trying to do here.
I'm having this whole revelation right now of like, we were praying over like, I don't want to do it alone. And I was like, I don't want to do it alone, thinking like, oh, I want to do it with a partner. And like, we received that, but it's like, oh, I don't want to do it alone.
Yes.
And like in that process, we've come home to the reality that like, we're never actually doing anything alone, because like when you put God at the center.
Wow. Mic drop there. No. So I'm excited to see what happens here.
Yeah.
I just really, truly want this to be a space where you feel like, you know, you're coming in to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Have a cup of coffee. You're like one of our friends,
yeah.
you know? And taking you along for the journey of the real life things that we are navigating as followers of Christ, as 2 women in business together and like holding space for other women.
2 women in relationships, 2 women navigating just like the totality of the human experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I am navigating a fertility journey right now. It's like there's just so many avenues, and like we really want everything that we do to be a place to just do life together. That's been something that we've talked about for so long, and we got that experience on that first retreat of like, oh, like this is what it looks like and feels like when women come together with like a cohesive desire or like a cohesive intention to come together and see one another and witness one another and explore their relationship with God and explore their relationship with their past pain and their body and their traumas and the things that have held them in separation from God, which has been such a huge part of both of our stories, right? Like really navigating the internal turmoil, the contractions, the things that we hold on to inside of our nervous systems that we both now know through our experience, through our training, through what it is that we're offering in these spaces is such an important part to actually having a relationship with God that isn't just this belief, but it's like so felt.
Yes.
And like so attuned to inside of your body.
Yes. I'm really excited to dive into that a lot more because, I would say I've been a follower for a really long time, but it hasn't been until the past couple of years where I've really allowed him in, right? Because like for a while I feel like I was doing this walk of like, okay, you can have this, but I'm gonna still take care of this. And how funny, how silly of me to think I can't just give it all over. So I would say over those past couple of years, I have really leaned into that embodied experience of like knowing deeply that I am not alone on this journey. And so yeah, I think, no topic being off limits here. I really want us to be, have those crunchy, sticky conversations, right? Because the truth of it is so many of us have past church hurt or like people in our lives who have said certain things about, how you should be a follower and what that looks like. And diving into those hard conversations. How does that land for you? What does that feel like? And this being a space to like explore that.
Yeah. I think also being a space that it's okay to say, I don't know, right? As someone who is a mentor and a coach and a healer and now a minister, it's been really important for me in my walk with people as we're navigating these crunchy conversations around God and truth and resonance of like what is God actually convicting me to do, right? And like what actually is feeling true for me versus what somebody else is telling me I have to do. It's been really, really important to navigate that like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is the experience that I've had and the healing that has happened and the peace and the prosperity and the beauty that's come through walking the journey that I've walked to lead me directly home to God. And I'm at a place right now where I feel like if a lot of people could look at this sort of transition I'm making, right? Because I'm going from really talking a lot more about energy healing and self-healing and the psychic space, which is where I came from, into my walk with Christ. But I'm not in full resonance with so many of the stories of people who are just like, all of that was demonic, because all of that is like what walked me exactly to where I am now. And there's a lot of doors that are just like naturally closing, but there's a lot of questions that I have because of mystical experiences that are the thing that walked me directly home to Jesus, right? So like I'm excited to navigate those conversations too, because I think we live in a generation right now that is so hungry to come back to God, but that there's also this like resistance or this fear or this uncertainty because of church hurt and projections and judgment and shaming and all of that comes along with more of that kind of like, people will call it like spirit of religion versus embodied relationship, embodied experiential relationship with God.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you named, because you do it to me all of the time when I'll ask you a question about something. We was earlier in the car and you're like, I don't know, ask God. And that being okay, right? I think sometimes you find yourself in some circles where it's like people want to spew certain Bible verses at you and stuff, but reality, it's like I can give you my thoughts on it, but it's coming from a human. So ultimately, you have to go back to the source.
And I think that's what this is really all about, right? Like God's Got It is about coming back home to the peace that we get to live with when we find that full faith in like fully knowing that like God's got it. Like life might be messy and we're figuring things out and we are uncertain, but God's got it.
Yeah. And it's that remembrance, right? That remembrance again and again. And sometimes it's moment to moment, even in your day, right? Like we forget. And then it's like, okay, come back to center. Remember.
Remembering to remember.
Yes. Being a human is so fun.
Yeah. And I think I just also really want to normalize like the human reality in all of that. I think we have enough people out there trying to present themselves as like these perfectly evolved entrepreneurs or spiritual humans, right? And that I think for me, some of the peace that I've found in coming home to Christ is that like I don't have to be perfect. I get to be human. I don't have to keep digging and digging and digging and digging to get to the root of absolutely everything that is wrong with me, right? Because like in him, we are whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier, I do feel like as a collective, people are starting to wake up and move in that direction. And so I'm just really excited for us to dive into those conversations here.
Yeah.
So we're just really excited you're here. Like, I just want you to know, like, expecting from us just real, honest, vulnerable conversations, like letting you know what we're navigating in real time, wanting to hear from you, right? Like
wanting
you
a
as
big
the listeners, like
of that.
what do you want us to be talking about? Is there a topic that you're just real curious about? And letting us, you know, navigate that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for what this is going to turn into because, like we said, it has been so God-guided. It has evolved so quickly. Like, I actually can't believe that we are sitting here in these chairs, like, in our first episode. A huge piece for me in having had a podcast for the past 2 years was, like, wanting to do it different and almost, like, I don't want to say wanting to do it right, but wanting to, like, up-level. That if we're going to start a new podcast, I don't want it to just be, like, in our separate homes, in our separate offices, behind our screens, like actually being able to be here in person. And like, even this, guys, like we have had to surrender to God so hard. Like we don't know what we're doing here, but we are figuring it out. Like,
and
thank you, God.
God's got it.
Yeah.
Right? So with that being said, we're excited that you're here. We're looking forward to diving into new topics, crunchy topics, spicy topics, maybe some controversial topics, and everything in between.
Yeah. And I think a big prayer is like, if you're going to be here, if you're going to come here, if you are going to be a part of this community with us, we ask that you come with an open heart and a humble heart, because that's how we are always going to show up, like open and curious and humble. And like, yes, we have conviction in our faith and conviction in our opinions and conviction in what Jesus can do for you in your life and what God can do for you in your life, because we've experienced it and we are continuing to experience it. And we are watching a world that is really like kind of reviving through that right now. But at the end of the day, like Jenn said earlier, like we are just humans. And I think a really important piece of being anybody that is out here talking about spiritual healing and God is being humble enough to, at the end of the day, say, like, I don't know. I don't know, because that is such a big part of faith. Like, if it weren't for the fact that we don't actually know, faith wouldn't even be a part of the picture. And a part of what makes the relationship with God, with like the infinite nature of God so incredible, is that like there is a mystery to it, and that's what leads us to needing to be in faith.
So good. That feels like a beautiful place to wrap it up. So we hope that you will keep tuning in with us, grab a cup of coffee, get cozy, and listen in.
Yeah. And until then, just keep returning to that knowing. God's got it.
God's got it.